Maria Angela S. De Casa. So for today's video, we are going to tackle about 10 environmental problems, and I choose air, water, and noise pollution and deforestation as an example of an environmental problems because it is one of the most common problems of our environment. So let's proceed. Air pollution. Air pollution, it consists of toxic chemicals and other harmful particles that have an adverse effect on our health and ecosystem. But what causes air pollution? In today's video, let us enter the territory of air pollution and explore its consequences on our lives, environment, and the world. A tiny percentage of air pollution comes from natural sources like volcano eruption, dust storms, allergens, and wildfires. And we don't have any control over pollution that caused by any of these natural sources, but we have control over its human activities that are responsible for most of the world's air pollution. Yes, right from smoking cigarettes to burning fossil fuels to driving cars and releasing toxic smoke from factories. Tarnish the air you breathe and cause severe health and environmental problems. Like for example, when we burn fossil fuels like decomposed plants and organisms, they discharge carbon dioxide and other greenhouse into the air. These gases in turn trap heat coming from the sun in the Earth's atmosphere, resulting in a rise in global temperature and major factor behind global warming. So it is our duty and responsibility to take the matter in our hands to save our planet and future generation. So let's proceed to the next environmental problems, which is deforestation. Deforestation is a purposeful clearing of forest land, and deforestation represent one of the largest issues in global land use. People out trees for their work products, for croplands and grazing lands. Now, the question is, what would be the effects of deforestation? The loss of trees and other vegetation can cause climate change. Desertification, soil erosion, flooding, and increased greenhouse gases in the atmosphere. And the last of problems for indigenous people. That's all. Thank you.
Hi, I am Rowan Clems Magala, and for today's video, I will be talking about global warming due to emission of greenhouse gases. As I walked through the streets of Tagum, I noticed a lot of vehicles and litters. Not only that, but the heat was sweltering. Growing up in Tagum, I noticed a stark difference from the last 10 years to now. Now, the place is definitely warmer. This occurrence is due to global warming. It is a gradual increase in the overall temperature of the Earth's atmosphere. Earth's greenhouse gases trap heat in the atmosphere and warm the planet. These gases are released during the combustion of fossil fuels such as coal, oil, and natural gas to produce electricity. As I walk in this plastic park filled with trees and grasses, I wonder how long this will all last if humans keep consuming and overpowering nature. Will our future generation ever survive? I can only hope they will.
Hi guys, I am Sector Paul Gatis and I will discuss the extinction of species. So species extinction is a natural process that occurs without human involvement because all species have a finite lifespan through geological time. So what is extinction and how does a species become extinct? So to extinguish something, it means to stop it from existing, like blowing out of a candle flame. So when a plant or animal species that once they stop existing entirely, we say the species has become extinct. So why do certain species of plants and animals sometimes become extinct? According to the theory of evolution, individuals of the same species show a range of vibration. Some individuals have characteristics that are better suited to the environment, making them more likely to survive and reproduce, while others are less well adapted. And these less well adapted individuals may eventually fail to reproduce and eventually their genes are removed from the population. If an entire species fails to adapt to changes in its environment or compete with other organisms for resources and its birth rate is lower than its death rate, then it will become extinct. It may be surprise you to know that over 99% of all species that have ever lived are now extinct. Typically, most organisms become extinct within 10 million years of their first appearance, although some species have survived without much change for much longer than this. These long-surviving organisms are sometimes called living fossils. For example, the African aardvark and the Himalayan red panda as both have remained genetically unchanged for million years. From time to time, an event takes place on Earth which cause of mass extinction. These mass extinction are identified by significant and often devastating change in the number and variety of organisms alive at one time. This most famous mass extinction, called the KT extinction event, occurred about 65 million years ago and involved the extinction of the dinosaurs. And the most devastating extinction happened 250 million years ago and completely eradicated 96% of all known species. And this was probably due to comet or asteroid impact. So stopping habitat destruction is a key starting point, as well as become greener, lowering our carbon footprints, recycle and buy sustainable products like bamboo or wood products to protect forest species, and using sustainable products, we may able to affect these, and it's up all of us to play our part. That's all. Thank you.
Good day everyone, I'm Christine C. Mariano and I want to share to you the other environmental problems, which are the overpopulation and waste disposal. But first, let's go with the topic of overpopulation. Tourism, poverty, and the other societal crises are all present in the Philippines. One of the most widespread issues is overpopulation. Every year, the Philippines' population becomes bigger and worsen. Overpopulation is one of the most serious environmental and societal problems since it causes global warming, pollution, starvation, extinction, habitat loss, unemployment, and other negative consequences. Based on the current statistic and Philippines population density map, in the year 2022, Philippines has 112,508,944 population with a growth rate of 1.36%. Prior to that, the National Economic and Development Authority said that the government will carry out the full and intensified implementation of the National Program on Population and Family Planning, or which is NPPFP, which was approved by the former President Rodrigo Duterte last March 4, 2019, during the 35 Cabinet meeting. This national program on population and family planning, a major component of the responsibility parenthood in the reproductive health law, aims to reduce unplanned and unwanted pregnancies by enabling couples and individuals to attain their desired number of children within the context of responsible parenthood. In this way, we can conclude that the government take their full potential to solve the problem with regards to the overpopulation. More people mean an increased demand for food, water, housing, energy, healthcare, transportation, and more. All consumption contributes to the ecological degradation, increased conflicts, a high unemployment rate, and higher risk of large-scale disasters like pandemics. Having a better education, like awareness of family planning and knowledge of sex education, is an effective solution to solve the overpopulation in the world. On the other hand, let's talk about waste disposal. Solid waste disposal remains a major challenge in the Philippines, especially in urban areas like Metro Manila. And according to the website of DNR that I searched for, the Philippines producing 21 million metric tons of garbage every year. So the overconsumption of resources and the creation of plastics are creating a global crisis of waste disposal. Developed countries are notorious for producing excessive waste or garbage and dumping their waste in the ocean, and less development countries' removal of garbage into a landfill that can cause leaching of contaminants into soil and water. And it also leads to the emission of toxic gases in the environment. Waste management has become a necessity now. We can reduce, reuse, recycle. We should reduce our packaging purchase, minimize toxicity, the reuse bags, containers, and other materials. We should also start recycling.
Illegal mining. It is a mining activity that is undertaken without state permission, in particular absence of land rights, mining license, and permits. Illegal mining operations are destroying farmlands, forests, and water bodies, for example here in the Philippines. Furthermore, illegal mining of metals is often accompanied by severe environmental impacts including deforestation, land degradation, and air pollution. Environmental impacts, it can occur at local, regional, and global scales throughout direct and indirect mining practices. First is the deforestation, through the forest clearing and other construction of roads which open remote to forest areas. Next is the land degradation. Large mining operation disturbs the land by directly removing materials in some areas and dumping waste in others, thus changing the topography. Next is the air pollution. Mining has greatly effect on the quality of air, since mines need to blast through rock to get an ore. Dust may be produced in the process. Coral reef destruction. It is a degradation and potential mass death of the ocean's coral. It is normally caused by illegal fishing techniques, pollution, careless tourism, and other natural phenomena such as earthquakes and hurricanes. Up to half of the world's coral reefs have been so far destroyed completely or badly damaged. This destruction is continuing at an alarming rate due to overfishing, climate change, and other factors. Main causes of coral reef destruction. First is the reef bleaching. It occurs when extreme water condition causes coral to expel in the internal microorganism that gave them their vibrant color. It happens for several factors including pollution and extreme low tide. Next is the poison or dynamite fishing. It is common practice to use poison to fish for coral reef dwelling creatures. The poison is not specific enough to necessarily kill a specific fish but does stun the fish in a domestic water aquariums. Next is the water pollution. Reefs are harmed when oil, fertilizer, and human or animal waste are dumped in areas of water. Next is the careless tourism. Increased tourist activities have direct impact on marine ecosystem. Which of the tourism coral reefs destruction is preventable with just a little bit of education for those who want to explore these interesting natural creations.
So hello guys, my name is Naif Usman and I'm going to share about fish bombing or dynamite fishing. And I hope that you will learn something in this video. Fish bombing is an escalating threat to coral reefs and to the people who depend on them for their livelihoods. It destroys fish habitats among reefs already threatened by overfishing and climate change. Blast fishing is an extremely short-sighted fishing method because it destroys the coral reef on which fisherfolk depend. It is also extremely dangerous to the fisherfolk themselves because bombs can explode prematurely. Not only do the bombs kill a marine life around them, repeated bombing shattered the dead substructure of the coral and created dead zones that destroy biodiversity and ecosystems by removing the main life support system for many species. Change is possible through soft measures such as community development and hard measures such as enforcement.
Depletion of natural resources. Natural resources are essential for our survival, and it can be defined as the consumption of resources faster than it can be replaced. Resource depletion can cause many effects in our environment. As the human population increases and economies develop, we're using more natural resources, materials the earth provides to enable economic gain. These materials include water, air, forest, oil, gas, soil, and more. We regularly consume these resources more quickly than the natural world can restore them. As our culture advanced and our species invented many things that will make our lives easier, our demand for raw materials increased by leaps and bounds. We're already observing some effect of resource overuse, even if a day when the planet is utterly dry and barren is probably still quite a ways off. As we preserve our world for present and future generations, we should need to take immediate action. There are things we can do to start protecting the Earth's resource. Make electricity more efficient and use more renewable energy resources like wind and sun. Avoid single use of plastics. Drive less so it can be less air pollution and save gas. Walking, biking, or not owning a car can be a better solution to lessen those problems. Reduce food waste, promote sustainable forest management, and don't waste water.